All right, so this could be a common problem, especially when you're lining up with an existing wall. So if you're just replacing your tub and putting in new surround, sometimes the wallboard and the tub, so a lot of times in these older homes, the distance between your walls were actually a lot further. The rough-in framing was a lot further because a lot of times they use plaster, sometimes they use drywall, but a lot of times they have plaster and it's thicker than the actual drywall. So when you have your tub flange like this, you need to shim in your tub to make it fit. So I ended up using some 1/2-inch furring strips here. I didn't realize that this is going to be a major issue. So you can see my backer board, if I went over that, is going to be sticking outside of the drywall area. There's really no good way to finish that. So what I'm going to have to do is remove these shims and basically get this. This is not a problem down here because we have this wainscoting here. And so this is going to hide some of this. So even if I went with that full 1/2 inch down here, I'll be okay with my Schluter edge. You won't be able to see any of that. But up here, it's going to be a major problem. So I'm going to cut out my existing 1/2-inch pieces of plywood here. The other problem that I noticed is that I'm really far off with evenness. So this is not, well, actually that's not too bad that way. But, I basically have a good solid 1/4 inch of play here. So we're going to address that as well. But I'm going to take off these 1/2-inch pieces of plywood first and then basically make it form with my existing wall. That's kind of what you're doing. You're pretty much making it work with your existing wall. Doesn't matter about plumbness. That's at this point, that's not really your problem unless you're going to try to replace all of the drywall in the bathroom. So you're basically just going off of what you're existing with. Okay, so as you can see, when I have my board straight up on top of my 2x4 here, I'm pretty even up here, and then it kind of becomes more pronounced out here. So what I'm going to do is shim this out because one of the issues right now is if I just put my backer board right here, you're going to have this tub flange that's exposed. I'm not going to be able to towel over that. So this needs to be kind of out to even with my tub flange so that I can tile and all my tile is nice and straight. So I do need that 1/2-inch material down here, but I need to go to nothing up here. So my suggestion is to get a 2x4 up against here and then just kind of wedge it out. Again, we're going off of our existing wall. We're not concerned about plumb. In an ideal world, everything would be nice, straight and plumb and level. But if you're trying to keep your existing wall, you kind of have to go with what you're doing. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to make that 1/2 inch out. So this 1/2 inch material down here, we're going to keep it at that level. So now this is going to be our guide for what we want the wall to be. I'm not concerned about plumbness. I just want to make this even with my drywall. Yeah, that should work out well. So it does kind of stick out a little bit down here, but this wainscoting, I'm going to have a Schluter edge that goes right along there. You won't even be able to tell. But the important thing is that this board is nice and even with this now. So when I tile up to this point, it'll look good. And we're going to put another 2x4 here, and then we'll just kind of fill in some areas just to keep the backer board straight. So we're going to do the same concept with a new 2x4 here. Okay, so my tub flange is straight, so we're going with that. Most likely this wall isn't square either, so that doesn't matter. But as you can see here, you can see how much of a gap I have between my wall stud and my flange. I'm almost an inch right there. So we're going to go off of the tub flange on the bottom, bring that out, so then my backer board will come right on top of the flange. And you just want to make this will most likely be even with the top and be fine. Because even this, that's not too bad actually. We'll just bring it out. Plumb. Okay, so that's plumb there. And now again, we'll just bring this stud out to the middle. So we almost have 1/2 inch. It's going to be uneven throughout, probably. Yeah, we got almost 5/8 of an inch. So again, we'll do the same thing with another stud, sister onto this, and bring it out even with this. Yeah, the existing wall is definitely on plumb. This still needed to come out. So we're actually improving this. So if you wanted to do shower doors, that'll make it nice. So let me do one more stud in the middle here. Okay, so keep this even with the tub, back of the tub flange. Yeah, that'll make it all nice and flat. Okay, let's double check this again. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so we're just gonna use some 1/4 inch material and 1/2 inch just because that's what I got. And we'll just fill in this corner back here just so there's some support. But really, I'm gonna be screwing into my main stud. All right, we have to address the wall that's actually the issue here, which is this existing plaster wall. And we're gonna be doing the same thing, basically making that go up to nothing because we had to have the tub shimmed out. So we're kind of going 1/2 inch to nothing up there. So let's go ahead and cut this stud out. Okay, so that's within reason. A little bit of proud right here, but that's nothing that I can't overcome. So then we'll just get some shims right in here. Okay, not bad. So we're just gonna go with our full corner here. So we just need to bring this out a little bit. You could even use a 1x material too if you wanted to. Shim this out. So you don't necessarily need a sister an entire stud on there if you don't want to. Okay, so it keeps it all nice and straight there. Within reason. Like I said, if you're within, or an 1/8 inch really, you're fine. So that's like about a 1/16 right there, a little bit high right in the center there, but that's not gonna interfere with my wall. I mean, I really don't have much at all, so. But that makes sure that everything's even. The other thing you just wanna pay attention to is making sure that everything's within 16 inches on center, all the way around. And that's primarily just for the fasteners of the hydro block board. But now that you got all the framing done, now we can move into the real easy part, which is actually adhering all the waterproofing into place.